Hello and welcome to the Buy Sell Hold Spotlight presented by Sports Car Market Magazine. I'm Darren Roberge. Before we begin, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Also be sure to join in the conversation and share your thoughts by leaving us a comment below. Our guest today is Carolyn Cassini. She is the Business Development Director for Broad Arrow Auctions. Welcome, Carolyn.
Thank you, Darren.
For those who may not be familiar with you, why don't you introduce yourself and give us a little bit of background?
So I'm Carolyn Cassini, and I work for Broad Arrow as well as Hagerty Marketplace, our online auction platform. I've joined the team back in February, and I'm delighted to be here.
So there's been a lot of stuff going on at Broad Arrow Group lately. Most recently, you had your Porsche 75th anniversary event. Give us kind of a report on the ground. What was the feelings like? How did it go? What was the overall results? Let's talk some top sellers. Let's talk Porsche in Georgia.
Yeah, it was an absolutely fabulous auction. We were really pleasantly surprised. The energy was electric in the room. The whole week, leading up, preview was really phenomenal. And we had an incredible sale with some, really great cars to offer. When you have a single mark sale like this, it really sort of speaks to the strength and the character of that individual mark in the marketplace currently. So, what kind of went as expected? What was a surprise to you? What did you guys learn there? I think it was incredibly impressive, working with Porsche of North America in Atlanta at their headquarters. We were so excited to be able to be working with them and to put on this auction together and to be the flagship sale of the Porsche 75th anniversary. That was a really incredible honor for us. And, when we decided to do the auction, I think some people were maybe a little bit hesitant, given the fact that it not the easiest thing to do a single mark sale, right? But honestly, I don't think it could have gone any better. And we had really incredible cars consigned, which is what, really matters. I can say, the 904 that we had there was, big hit, and it was a really quality car with well-known history and provenance. And it definitely hit a world record, which we were, pleasantly surprised by. And then we had, of course, the classic club, from Porsche. It was something that, at no reserve, we didn't know what could happen. But I think, given the fact that it is a one-off built by Porsche, developed by Porsche with millions of dollars, put behind it, it was great to see that it got the result that it deserved.
And of course, you're speaking of the 1999 Porsche 911 Classic Club Coupe, the Sonderwunsch factory one-off car. Very cool car, and it ended up going to a pretty interesting owner too. Who was the purchaser of that one-off incredible vehicle?
Yeah, of course, we normally never, release or disclose the winning bidders, but in this case, it was public, and we saw the delivery, on social media. So yes, it went to Jerry Seinfeld, and, he worked really closely and discreetly with a colleague of mine, Ray Schaefer, that you had on the show right before the Porsche auction. And it was a delight to see that he was so excited. I think he's a car enthusiast and a car collector like any of us. Yes, he's Jerry Seinfeld, but this was a car that he saw and it meant a lot to him. And it was exciting to see that it was, being able to be celebrated like he did.
Yeah, it's a fascinating car with a fascinating story too. It was, received wind tunnel treatment from Porsche, and how often does that happen on a one-off car like that? And I love the fact that they went back and sort of, rebirthed the 996, which, is something that we hear on this show a lot as being a major buy recommendation. So for Porsche to go back to sort of a controversial model and then sort of build the ultimate version of it, nearly 20 years later, I think is really an interesting thing. And it made sense as to why Mr. Seinfeld was so interested in this car, among other people. And the final sale price, spoke to that too. $1,325,000. I suspect it's going to be some time before 996 even approaches that number. So congratulations on that sale. Very interesting lot, and a very interesting result there. So moving forward, your second annual Monterey Jet Center event. It is the 17th and the 18th of August, of course, in Monterey, now becoming a central component of Monterey Car Week, along with many other events there. So what should people expect this year? What's new? What's going to happen this year in Monterey with Broad Arrow Auctions?
This like you said, it's our second time in Monterey, and we're really delighted that it's going to be a 2-day auction this year. So it's a significant increase of cars and also of value, of course. I think we had an incredible, sale last year, with 50 million plus sold. And this year we're just looking to elevate that. And we have really great cars that will make that happen.
Yeah, it's a fun event. It's a can't miss for sure. If you're in Monterey or planning to go to Monterey, definitely add it to your calendar. And this year you've got some fabulous offerings. Let's get right to it. Right from the top, you guys have a couple of collections. We'll cover a little bit more in detail as we kind of go down the list here, but just to mention what they are: the Gateway Auto Museum Collection and the Academy of Art University Automobile Collection. Give us just a real quick backstory on each, and then we'll kind of get into what's offered, but sort of give us the rundown on the categories of what's there on either of those.
So I think one of the really exciting parts of Monterey is that we're able to offer a large amount of cars from the Academy of Art University collection. I went to school there for automotive restoration, and it's near and dear to my heart. I'm, very close with everyone there. Elisa Stevens is the daughter of the father who was running it, Dr. Richard Stevens, who had sadly passed a couple years back. But we have stayed very close, and it's really exciting to do this partnership between Broad Arrow, Haggerty, and Academy of Art. And we have 28 incredible automobiles from their collection, ranging from a 500K to, a mint Corvette. And we're really honored. We have, the 500K is one of the most exceptional automobiles, I think, that we have offered in Monterey. I'm definitely a little bit biased. Pre-war is what my passion is. We have an incredible Bugatti Type 57C supercharged car that is one of the best examples that you could find. We have a Rolls-Royce Henley Roadster, one of 3 still in existence. Still need to confirm that, but that's what our research is showing. And it's actually probably the only one that you could possibly buy, because the other 2 are stored safely in collections that will likely not be sold in maybe even my or anyone's lifetime. And, we have the beautiful Duesenberg Model J Murphy, J12 convertible Victoria. We have a Delage D8 120 Aerosport Coupe. We have a Testarossa part of the collection. We have a XK 120 alloy body part of that collection. It is truly some of the most iconic pieces and marks of their time, kept incredibly well by the Academy. They have an incredible school and facility but they also have an incredible museum there with great staff that really take care of these cars and are really passionate about them. So we're really obviously near dear to my heart, given the fact that I went there and have a close relationship, but we're really excited as a group and a team to be able to offer these incredible automobiles for them.
It's a very round collection that has a lot of diversity to it, which is really interesting to see, certainly. So those cars should do really well on the block, and it's for a great organization, and we're excited to see what happens there.
Absolutely. Yeah, one of my favorite cars of all time we're selling is a Stutz DV32 Bearcat, one of 2 in existence. And this is one that was owned by Dr. Barbara Atwood, who was a really prominent collector and woman, what means a lot to me. But yeah, we're really excited to be offering every single one. It's hard to go into depth on one because you start thinking about all the others that we have, and it's very exciting.
Truly the mark of a good collection indeed.
Yeah. So Gateway is a collection that is part of John Hendrick's Museum, a real true and tried car collector of incredible American marks. And I think it's, notable to say that he was the founder of the Discovery Channel. And it really, it's tried and true with the cars that are in his collection. I think, the main highlight is, of course, his Oldsmobile concept car, F88. I think that's definitely one of the highlights. I think it's also important to note that many of cars from Hendrick's collection are also going to be offered on Haggerty Marketplace online in August. So I think everyone should keep an eye out there as well.
So let's talk those two cars really quickly. The 1954 Oldsmobile F88 concept is a really interesting offering for sure. It's like, Harley Earl design. So it's got that sort of that connection to that incredibly iconic American designer there. The only remaining example, one of one, you're never going to see another one, no matter where you go. Supplied directly from GM. It's a knockdown kit to legendary automaker E.L. Cord, stored on his Nevada ranch for years before being fully restored. And it's been magnificently rebuilt and it's been shown in several pretty prominent collections. What do we think about this car? I mean, for a lot of people, when they look at it, it really sort of demonstrates a lot of lines that you would see on, a 1954 Corvette. So like, what was GM's motivation on this? Was it's sort of another offering that was similar to the Corvette, maybe a more luxury focused version, or was this just a cool project that Harley Earl wanted to do and got away with doing because he was Harley Earl?
I think we would have to be in Harley Earl's mind to see exactly what he was trying to think, but I think he made an iconic automobile that kind of embodies all of the best features of GM's design during that era. So, I mean, when you buy this car, it's a car that speaks to many more models besides just this, right? So it's a truly iconic piece. I understand why, even John Hendricks fell in love with it, especially because of his love for American automobiles. This is kind of the epitome, and it kind of marries all of the best features together. So this was a perfect part of his collection. And now, being offered, I think it's a great time. I think this is a time when people are really thinking more about design and the features and uniqueness of cars versus maybe even 10, 15 years ago. So it's exciting to be able to offer this.
Yeah, we've seen a few mid-century American concept vehicles, like one-off cars, come to market over the last couple of years, and they've done incredibly well. So it does seem like now is the time for that if people are interested in that. I mean, it's like driving a Jetsons car around on the street. Like, who wouldn't want to do that? You know what I mean? Another really interesting car from that collection, 1930 Duesenberg convertible, one of two produced to this design by France's arguably finest coach builder. It retains its original chassis, firewall, engine, and body, and it's got a wonderful history from known from new. Delivers originally to Spanish aristocrat Luis Martinez del Reyes Rivas. Say that several times fast. Later purchased by American socialite Lucius Humphrey, who used it for touring continental Europe, and it's been in a pretty prominent collection for the past 30 years. Duesenbergs have been exceptionally strong cars for the pre-war side of things in the marketplace. So let's kind of talk about this car a little bit and kind of where we think this sits in the hierarchy of it. And do we think that trend is going to continue moving forward?
I do. This is a really great car. I mean, a Hibbert and Darren coach built car that has, your engine, firewall, all original is really impressive. So I think nowadays you see Duesenbergs doing really well. And I think they deserve to keep doing really well. They were the iconic car of its time, right? I mean, you look at what someone would be driving around today, what's iconic, is it Rolls Royce or Bentley? I mean, that a Duesenberg was the icon of the American automobile. And when really great cars come to market, we see that a lot of collectors come and they appreciate and they understand what they are. I believe it's been very interesting over the past couple of years to see how well Duesenbergs are, because I think a lot of people might say that pre-war classics, especially American pre-war classics, might be dying when it comes to interest. But when really great marks like this Duesenberg come to market, people come to the table and they appreciate what they are.
Not the difference between coach builders. You have another car that's kind of along the same lines, another 1930 Duesenberg Model J. This one's a Murphy convertible sedan, originally owned by Academy Award-winning set designer Cedric Gibbons, and he's the designer of the Oscar statuette, which is pretty cool. Tons of prominent ownership on this car, Bruce Meyer, et cetera, et cetera. desirable body on style. It's sought after a short wheelbase chassis. So where does the coach builder sort of element fall into this? And obviously it's important, but which ones are the more desirable ones, and which ones you think have the more longevity in the marketplace based on that?
So I'm definitely, each coach builder didn't always get it right necessarily. I think when it comes to Murphy, it's an American bodied, they were done in Pasadena, California. So this is a tried and true American car. This, like you said, has really prominent ownership. So that obviously plays a big role, especially with Duesenbergs. The coach builder means a lot. Absolutely. I think both of these line up pretty closely to each other in a sense. I think they're both very desirable, maybe to different buyers or similar buyers at the same sense if they're interested in American Duesenbergs, or American cars. But the Model J it has well-known, American history from new and ownership. And I think when it comes to coach builders, Murphy and Hibbert and Darren are pretty widely known within the Duesenberg community. When you get into, maybe more of the niche coach builders, the value obviously goes up. I mean, both of these I think are very equal. They're not disappearing top, right? They're not supercharged, right? So those are the things that I think, that are really iconic on a Duesenberg. When someone sees a supercharged and, an SJ come to market, that elevates it. So I would put these both in a very similar category. And value wise, they're a little bit different, 1.2 to low estimate on the Hibbert and Darren and 1.6 on the Murphy. But the Murphy has, a little bit more, well-known, prominent, and maybe a little bit more attractive as a Murphy than a Hibbert and Darren.
Interesting stuff. And you really can't have a conversation about coach builders without bringing up the big Z, Zagato. And you have one of Zagato's finest works in this sale. One of my favorite cars of all time. Certainly one of the most beautiful cars ever made. 1956 Maserati A6G54 Zagato Berlinetta. It's one of 20 Zagato-bodied A6G54 Berlinettas. And it's likely the only one with the double bubble Zagato roof, which matters on this car because it looks fabulous. And this thing's got race history too. Raced in the 1956 Mille Miglia, restored in Italy, and then of course Paul Russell and company did sort of a glaze over on it, and their work is second to none. So this thing is documented like crazy too. Digital copies of all the Maserati build sheets, factory copy of Zagato correspondence and the period photography. And it's comprehensively researched by marque experts and includes all the reports that you'd ever want to see. Class award at the 2009 Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance, part of Maserati's Centennial Celebration in 2014 at the Concours. And what else is there on this car? Is this the belle of the ball? It's got to be close.
Yeah, you carried it, Darren. I think you basically covered the remainder of what really makes this car special. In person too. This car, we have it at our facility in Culver City, and I've had the opportunity to really see it in person, and it's quite iconic and stunning. But I think you absolutely covered it.
Yeah, what else is there to say? It's an exceptional car. Sticking with Italians, 1985 Ferrari 288 GTO, one of 272 GTOs produced between 84 and 86. And this car, of course, has got all the goodies. Ferrari Classic K certified, numbers matching engine, transmission, chassis, body panels, and other original components. It's the first and rarest of an exclusive series of modern low volume Ferrari supercars. Of course, obviously this started out the craze with the horsepower that we're now seeing now with the highest end of the Ferrari spectrum. And it's, of course, Rosso Corso, which has got to be basically for this car. This is one of the best documented, best preserved examples of the 288 GTO in existence, and the chain of respected collectors from and owners from new is very, very strong. Maintained at all the right places, GTO engineering, Ferrari of Newport Beach, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You don't see these come to market too often, no reserve. What do you think that is that going to have an effect on the result of this car, or does it create more excitement? These are obviously hot from a very hot era right now. Pretty good opportunity to own one of these.
Absolutely. I think at no reserve, you take the risk, but at the same time, you can reap a really great reward. This is a car that has a broad audience, right? It's a car that a lot of active collectors are looking to attain. So I think it's going to be really exciting on the day to see what this goes for. I don't think we'll be disappointed.
And you've got another interesting car too, and it's the color that does this one for me, because it's purple, and oh boy, is it purple. 1968 Ferrari 206 Dino GT, Ferrari Class K certified, matching numbers, engine, transmission, alloy bodywork, and chassis. Exquisite restoration completed in 2008 on this car by marque specialists and a Concours judge. One of about 150 206 GTs produced from 68 and 69. Of course, the fabulous color on this. We spend a lot of time talking about Dinos on this show. Clearly, the 206 is the more valuable of the two, but it does seem as though the 246 is catching up. Is it just a power issue? Is it an accessibility issue? Why are these cars so popular right now? Why are they so hot? And where is the end of the line for these before they start to come back down again?
You know, I think it really is interesting over the past couple of years, even just the past year, to see what Dinos are doing. I think a lot of people are pretty shocked, and it's funny because people say, well, a Dino, why are you saying it's a Ferrari? Because it's not a Ferrari, but it very much it is a Ferrari, right? At the end of the day, it is. And I think 206, I think they will always continue to be more desirable. They were they're better to drive, they're better handling. We have a great 246 GT, no reserve in our auction, a part of Academy of Art, which is, still an incredible car. But when you take the wheel of a 206, I think you see the reason why they're priced differently.
Yeah, it's an interesting experience, that the difference between the two. And there's always this sort of argument that we seem to have anytime we make this comparison on this show between the rarity and the handling elements involved with the power elements involved. So it's always interesting to see what these do on the block, but I think I agree. I think these are probably a little bit a better long-term deal. Again, rarity is important, and the color of this thing is killer. Do you think that increases the value, or is that a polarizing thing for somebody, or how do you think color is going to play into this?
It's not the original color, but I do believe that it'll play into it. Viola is an iconic color when it comes to a Dino. I think even though it's not the original color, it definitely helps the car. And I've had the pleasure of spending a lot of hours and days with this particular vehicle. And we have the white 246 GT from AAU right next to it. They're both great cars, but I have to say that Viola, it's iconic, and it'll find a great new home.
Yeah, somebody's going to be really excited to play with that thing for sure. No question about it. Another kind of interesting car that somebody can do all kinds of different stuff with and go out and play in the world is a 1929 Aston Martin 1.5 L Works Team Car LM3. This is the third of only 7 Aston Martin race cars built between 1928 and 1931. And it was piloted by Aston Martin designer and technical engineer Augustus Cesar Bertini at the 1929 double 12 hours at Brooklands, as well as the 29 and 30 Irish Grand Prix. Retains its factory delivered 4-seat international coachwork fitted in 1932, documented by all the historians that you want to see things documented by, and first in class at the 2015 Amelia Allen Concours d'Elegance. What all can you do with this car? I mean, you're going to get invited to everything with this thing, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. It's when you think of Aston Martin, you think of a DB5, or you think of a modern car that you see on the road. This is something that, it was like a Bentley of its time, right? And they were rivaling against them. So it's an incredible car that you can basically do anything that you want with.
Yeah, small, lightweight little pre-war sports car. You think about taking something like that and some of these big rallies that you have for stuff like that. That's got to be a crazy experience, no doubt. And of course, this sale is not just limited to American offerings and beautiful Italian cars. You guys are also becoming the Porsche people very quickly, and you've got an exceptional one on offer here as well. 2007 Porsche RS Spyder Evo race car. Big estimate on this car. Big car. What do you think this thing does?
It's a really important, iconic car. I mean, it has incredible racing history with, winning third overall in Petit Le Mans. It's only, one of 17 RS Spyders that were produced between this period. I think it's a truly special car that hopefully Monterey is the space where it can be sold and someone will appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, Monterey is kind of renowned as a motorsports sort of hub, and race cars traditionally do exceptionally well there. And there's no reason this one shouldn't. $5 to $6 million estimate on this, I think, is probably reasonable. So it'll be interesting to see what happens on auction day here. Another couple of cars that really caught my attention. These are kind of bookends, I guess, a little bit, but 1986 BMW Alpina B6 2.7. This is the 40th of 67 examples produced for the Japanese market. Features a closed ratio, 5-speed manual transmission, and a 2.7 liter inline six engine. Low mileage, 35,671 kilometers, or approximately 22,000 miles, I guess. And then you've got an 84 Alpina C1 2.3, one of 35. C1 2.3 is produced 84 and 86. And this one is kind of a cool color. It's a blue with a silver decor over a cloth interior. Powered by a 2.3 liter inline six mated to a 5-speed transmission and equipped with BMW business radio, power sliding sunroof, power windows, air conditioning, etc. Is the word really kind of out on these cars? I know that the E30 M3s are exceptionally popular and have risen in value like crazy over the past 4 or 5 years. Are these in line, or are they? Obviously, I think they would say that there's sort of an exclusivity with these that puts them above that level. But with similar appreciation, kind of where are we at with these cars, and what do they have in common? And would they be good bookends for one collector, or would these appeal more maybe to two different collectors?
I mean, I think with the M3s being where they are now, I don't think anyone imagined where, that they would reach this level. But I think it would be great to see both of these go to the same collector. I'm not saying that it's going to happen, but I think they are great bookends, like you said, Darren. So they're both, iconic cars of that time. I mean, 2 years apart, both being extremely rare. It would be great to see them stay together, but we'll see what happens in August.
Yeah. And I would imagine the driving experience is as entertaining or more, with these versus the standard M3, which is, I mean, for a lot of people, that's kind of the 80s car, like the all around, like fun, awesome 80s car that does everything. And it seems like these are just sort of the next step above something along those lines.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think these, and also if you look at the price range, I mean, these are both offered without reserve. So they're definitely selling on the day, and they're not millions of dollars more than what a standard M3 is. So I think we'll see a pretty strong result with both.
Okay, Carol, and this is what you do all day, every day. You're in the market like few other people are. So why don't you give us one car to buy, one car to sell, and one car to hold in today's marketplace?
So when it comes to, picking out a particular car for each, it's a little tough. I would say, buy what you love and feel passionate about driving. I think that these are the times when, people are really appreciating driving again. I think it's cars that made a mark on their era. When it comes to what's collectible, I think there's 3 main categories that a car needs to fit into. Aesthetics, engineering, and provenance. So aesthetics being design. And I think what our Monterey auction has become is, really truly embodies the premier aesthetics of each and every car, especially, the pre-war era, what I'm passionate about. And then, engineering is, what was ahead of its time. Look at a Duesenberg engine. I mean, the engineering behind that is just incredible. And then provenance and history, of course, racing history, or it has well-known history from new, previous owners that were prominent during their time. I think the cars that I would buy if I had the opportunity today would be either the Type 57 Bugatti, Type 57C Bugatti that we have in our sale, or the Stutz Bearcat. Those are two cars that I believe are incredibly undervalued in today's market. When we see a Carrera GT or an F40 going for the same price as a Bearcat or a Type 57, I find it hard to stomach sometimes, but that might just be my passion for the pre-war automobile. I do believe that the collectors that are just starting are going to start realizing those cars quite soon. And I think this is the time to get into that market when it's still maybe a little bit softer than what most people think it should be. I don't think that these really great marks and makes are going to go out of style. I think we're going to see, I hope, and I believe that we'll see the pendulum swing back and people are going to start appreciating these automobiles again.
But I think there's something to be said for the simplicity of the drive, and we see this, I think, kind of with speedsters a little bit more from the 1950s. But people want something that's simple, that feels antiquated, and it feels analog. And I mean, those two cars are perfect examples of that. And it's interesting too, because those cars are kind of similar, but just from different continents. So say somebody's like kind of thinking about one or the other, what's the price difference going to be between, say, a Bearcat and the Bugatti?
So the Bugatti, I think, hope you'll pay about $2 million for the Bugatti, and the Bearcat, I think it's, is around 1.2 to 1.5. They're not drastically different, but they embody, different elements. I think, with the Bearcat, it's an open top and it's a little bit more of a raw automobile. But, when you think about the engineering behind that, it's such a light car. It's a Wayman bodied, fabric bodied car. And it has, DV32 engine in it. It's an iconic automobile that, will rival any 4.5 liter Bentley. And then you have, a Type 57 supercharged car that will also, we just drove the Type 57 down to the beach to do photos a couple days ago. And that thing will go even faster than, the supercharged Range Rovers that were next to us on the freeway. They're also honestly very easy to drive. It's not overly complicated. Once you get your bearing, you can drive it every day if you really wanted to, which I think is just incredible. I think people maybe get a little bit scared of pre-war automobiles because they feel like they're overly complicated and, have all these switches. I mean, really, once you get used to it, it's just like, putting your key into any modern day G-Wagon.
Interesting vehicles, interesting choices. So what are we going to sell?
I mean, kind of the same antidote as, buy what you love, sell what doesn't excite you and what you don't love anymore. I think it might be an ideal time to sell some of those vehicles that you've had in your collection for a long time that are investment pieces, quote unquote. I think 300 SL Gull Wings, it's a good time to sell. We've, kind of seen the progression of how those have gone and how Roadsters have kind of dwindled a bit and Gull Wings have kind of skyrocketed. So maybe it's a great time to sell your Gull Wing or your 275 GTB 4-cam. It might be a great time to sell something like that might have been an investment piece, 20 years ago. Cause you don't know what that market is going to be, steadily progressing. This might be a peak. I think it's a good time to sell modern classics. I think we've seen the Carrera GT market take off really rapidly. It might be a good time to sell Carrera GT, F40, LaFerrari. I think, high production vehicles in the modern era. I think this probably is a good time to maybe let those go.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I mean, I think that the meteoric rise of those cars is a wave that the people are going to want to get off at some point, and it's probably now's probably the time to do it for sure. And I'll tell you too, if somebody bought a 275 or 300 SL 20 years ago, they're pretty happy about their life right now for sure. That was a good decision, definitely. So what are we going to hold?
I think, obviously always hold on to what you love and enjoy every day. I think, let go of the things that you're not able to appreciate. Japanese cars right now, I think we're definitely at that lower end, seeing it start to trickle up. We've seen them really, skyrocket in a sense, but I don't think that's over. I think, young timer collectibles, from the 80s and 90s, I think you hold on to those for now. But anything that you really enjoy, hold on to it.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's one of the more popular answers that we hear on the show because it's true. I mean, if it's something that you love that's out there, then hang on to it. And I agree with you on the Japanese cars too. I think once the R34 Skyline hits, we're going to see a launch there pretty heavy. So, and it's going to probably take the 33s and 32s with it. So, now's the time to jump into that. And candidly, if you've got the means and the ability to do it, get yourself a warehouse in Osaka somewhere and starting to stock up cars and trickle them over slowly is probably going to be a pretty good financial decision. So, any final thoughts?
We're really, excited for Monterey. Our catalog is going to print at the end of this week that we're speaking. And maybe by the time this episode goes out, our clients will have the catalog in hand. We're just really excited and seeing a great future for Broad Arrow. And I'm personally excited to be part of this incredible team that is continuing to grow. And we're excited to, see what Monterey brings. I think it's interesting to see what is coming to market and throughout all the auctions, of course. I think we have a really incredible offering with 2 incredible collections that really, make the sale along with great consignments individually. But we're prepared to truck on, and I think all of listeners and viewers will see a lot from Broad Arrow in the future.
Yeah, indeed. And where can people go to learn more?
So you can go to broadarrowauctions.com as well as Hagerty.com/marketplace, because that's also a place that people definitely need to keep viewing. And, the marketplace is growing really rapidly, and I'm sorry that we didn't talk more about it on this call because of obviously being, iconic for Monterey, but our online offering is really growing. We've had some incredible collections, recently, Retro Motors, and now we have also Gateway, which will be online as well.
Yeah, it's a bunch of different ways you can buy cars from Broad Arrow Group, no doubt. I would like to thank Carolyn Cassini for joining us today. To learn more about anything that we discussed here, be sure to pick up the latest issue of Sports Car Market Magazine by visiting the link in the video description down below. As a reminder, if you enjoyed this content, please take a moment to like and share this video, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay on top of future episodes. I'm Darren Roberge, and thank you for joining us on the Buy Sell Hold Spotlight.